As we mentioned, Jonathan, a 37,000% return on your initial investment. Can you first take a step back and explain the business model of your firm, which is described as a litigation funder?
Thanks very much. Happy to be here. Sure. So basically, we operate at the intersection of law and finance, that for basically forever, the practice of law and the market for legal services has been completely divorced from the capital markets. That most law firms have been financed like a food truck. You know, you cash in, cash comes out. There's no permanent equity, no permanent debt, no project finance. And we think that's a problem. And a case like this is a perfect example of it. A bankruptcy trustee in Spain was representing the 25% shareholder of YPF that had lost its entire value because Argentina had breached the bylaws. When Argentina had privatized YPF and done an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange, it had promised investors if it ever changed course and if the government ever retook control, he would make a tender offer for all the remaining shares at a formulaic price. But then in 2012, 20 years in, it changed policy and it didn't make the tender offer. And Peterson was left insolvent, and the receiver recognized he didn't have the resources to fight a big fight like this. And he came to us, and we provided the financing and the management. Mm-hmm. It's been a long fight. It's been 8 years to this point, and there'll still be appeals. We're gratified that the court saw the merits of the case and that we're able to get the contract rights of the shareholders vindicated through the legal process, just as it should happen.
You said it's been a long time, it's been a long case, and it could be longer still. The $16 million that Argentina has been ordered to pay, it basically has to write a check out. You mentioned appeal. What are some of the other things that could drag that out, that could make this an even longer process?
Well, so up to this point, to some extent, Argentina having financed this obligation, right? Argentina would have known back in 2012 when it took control, it had an obligation under the bylaws to conduct the tender offer. And essentially, this was a form of financing for the country to delay this through the litigation process. Once you have a final judgment, though, the calculus changes, and it makes sense for Argentina in returning to the capital markets and righting its economy to come up with a solution. So I think it will have to be part of a broader discussion.
I mean, do you think that's going to happen, John? I mean, I'm sure you know more than anybody. I mean, we've been here before with Argentina. I mean, the royal we in that sense of folks trying to sort of collect on, I guess, debts, if you will, with mixed success here. It's one thing to win a case. It's another thing to actually get a check.
So I hear you on that front, but I do think that there is a difference between having a potential liability and having a federal court judgment against you. That it's very difficult for a sovereign nation that deals with the rest of the world to have a U.S. court judgment that's final and enforceable. That will be something that's quite different. And I think there are... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, John. But I do want to ask. I mean, are you prepared? I mean, to take additional measures to make sure that you do actually collect what you were granted in the court ruling?
So you may know Burford does have an asset recovery business that I don't think we approach every case the same way. When we've been up against recalcitrant defendants, you know, oligarchs haven't paid, we've seized yachts and we've done stuff like that.
Right.
When you're up against a sovereign nation and there are well-meaning government officials, I don't think that the goal is necessarily to embarrass. I think that we come with a reasonable appreciation of the challenges that Argentina faces. But I do think that we can be part of a productive solution to Argentina's problems. You know, it's going to be very hard for Argentina to re-access Western capital without taking care of the prior investors.
Well, it's interesting you bring up that, but the Capital Recovery Group and, of course, the seizing the yachts of the oligarchs, which, of course, Bloomberg talked about. When anyone thinks about Argentina and trying to recoup what you've basically rightfully won in court, everyone thinks back to Paul Singer and when they detained that Navy ship, I think it was in Ghana, about a decade ago. But at the end of the day, Argentina still got his ship back. And as far as I know, at least at that time, at that moment in time, Paul Singer didn't get his money.
Yeah, I'm not sure that seizing ships is the best strategy. That's not. It is true in the end, Paul Singer did get paid. I would not equate Burford with Elliott, and I think it's going to have to be. We're going to have to see how the political climate in Argentina develops. And as I say, we're reasonable commercial actors here. We exist at the intersection of finance and law, and we think we can be part of the solution rather than being a continued problem.